What does that mean, his receiving a target letter from the special counsel?
Peter, what it means is that he's almost certainly going to be indicted in this case. It's not a guarantee, but I heard Danny Savalos, one of our legal analysts, say on the air earlier today that he's never heard of a case where someone got a target letter and wasn't indicted. And what it also means is that essentially a formality, the special counsel Jack Smith is giving Donald Trump one last chance to tell his side of the story, essentially, to the grand jury. And what Mr. Trump said was that the letter gave him 4 days, as of Sunday when he received it, to appear before the grand jury. Now, no one thinks that's going to happen. That would be legally perilous for him to do that, given that the case is at a stage where the grand jury appears to believe that charges are appropriate for Mr. Trump. Nonetheless, he's afforded that opportunity. Of course, his lawyers are saying that a defendant is not required to appear. But big picture, what this means is that what we've been hearing in recent weeks and reporting on, that this grand jury looking at efforts to impede the lawful transfer of power was moving ahead and hearing from dozens of witnesses and looked like potentially formulating a case, that appears to have come to pass, that they are poised to indict Donald Trump and potentially others in a momentous development that would eclipse this case that I came here to cover today in Florida.
I'm going to ask you more about that case in Florida as it relates to the classified documents in a moment. Let me bring Garrett into this conversation, though. Garrett, we know the president already is trying to frame this as election interference. He just posted moments ago saying this is a witch hunt. What are you hearing from those in around his circle, including from him right now?
Yeah, Donald Trump has a well-worn playbook for how to deal with this sort of thing, Peter. As you pointed out, he just sort of posted a more graphics-friendly version of his longer post on Truth Social, calling it a witch hunt, calling it election interference, arguing that he's only being targeted because he is President Biden's chief rival for the nomination. The good news for the folks in Trump's orbit is that most other elected Republicans have embraced that same framework. We heard it from Speaker McCarthy. We've heard it from some of his other Hill allies like Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're even hearing a version of it from his rivals on the campaign trail, suggesting that this is a political indictment pending, perhaps. This has become built in with Republican voters. It makes it very easy for Donald Trump to use his indictments to rally support, to raise money. The question here, the theory that I think many of his rivals have operated under all this time, is that eventually the weight of all this gets to be too much for Donald Trump. But for right now, his campaign, his allies are very much leaning into this, as they've done successfully for 2 indictments so far.
And as you know, we've heard from him so far now in all caps. We will hear from him out loud tonight. He has a Fox News town hall in Iowa, another opportunity for him to sort of address some of this stuff.
Yeah, they've figured out pretty well how to do this kind of thing. He gets to take advantage of an opportunity to build a narrative here, in part because they know the rules that the DOJ plays by. Jack Smith can send him a letter, but he can't go out and give a press conference about this case right now. Donald Trump can go on Fox News in prime time to a huge audience, give his side of the story, probably with pretty friendly questioning, and let that drive the narrative in the political space for the next 4 days. The legal problems, notwithstanding, will come later, but the political message control is something that they've gotten pretty good at.
You make the point. There's the politics of this, and there's the legal jeopardy that he now faces right now. And Joyce, to you on that, I want your sort of view, if you can. Give us a glimpse inside the prosecutor's office right now. In effect, do you expect that an indictment would be coming soon? What are the likely charges here? I mean, as we ask you these questions, I'm reminded of what Merrick Garland said when he announced the appointment of Jack Smith. He said the investigation, this is not just about January 6th, the day. He said it's focused on whether any person or entity unlawfully interfered with the transfer of power following the 2020 election or the certification of the Electoral College vote on January 6th. So where's the biggest risk for Mr. Trump now?
So I'm reminded of earlier comments that the Attorney General made in January of 2022 when he was trying to convince people who thought DOJ was asleep at the switch that they had become awake and that he was willing to follow anyone involved in January 6th and the horrible events of that day to the logical conclusions of their crimes, whether they were present at the Capitol or not. And clearly what's going on with Jack Smith is a look at more than just the events on January 6th. I think we can expect a robust conspiracy to be the centerpiece of this indictment. There may be more than one conspiracy here. There's a lot of art. It's not really a science when prosecutors decide how to charge these things. but there may be a couple of different groups of people involved in different parts of the process in trying to interfere with the outcome in 2020. Or Smith may have decided that he can wrap everybody together into one big conspiracy and charge it that way. But what he has done by sending Trump a target letter is he has made it abundantly clear that Donald Trump will be charged in connection with January 6th. There is no walking this back. Prosecutors understand that when you come at the king, you had best not miss. And Jack Smith is clearly ready to take his shot.
To be clear now, Joyce, what is the time frame you think we are looking at here for this process to begin in earnest with what is likely to be an indictment? And then in what sort of time frame would something like this play out? There's an election now less than 18 months away.
So, Peter, I usually resist these sort of timing questions. My crystal ball is sort of opaque when it comes to them. But here I'm willing to hazard an educated guess. This sort of target letter and this time frame that they've given Trump to appear in front of the grand jury if he wants to, this is an endgame move. This is something that prosecutors do when their evidence is compiled, when they've made their decisions. And we've seen these sort of last-minute touchstone witnesses, reports that they've testified in the course of the last month. Jack Smith is ready to go. He knows that the political time clock is ticking, not because politics will influence his decisions here, but because they will influence both his ability to act and his ability to get the case to trial in advance of the election. We are, I think, in go time for Jack Smith and his team.
Jackie, walk us